What's up, movie fans? Recently, a big TV show wrapped up on Disney+. You know exactly which one I'm talking about. The one about the red guy with horns? Exactly. Maul Shadow Lord. You knew exactly which one I was referring to. There's no other show that fits that description. Anyway, yeah, season 1 of the new animated Darth Maul show just wrapped up. I have been pretty excited for this show ever since they first announced it a year ago. But if I'm being honest, I was also a little bit worried. Darth Maul is one of my favorite Star Wars characters. I think he is a perfect villain, but making a full show about him raised a few red flags. The first one is I'm just not really sure how much more there is to do with Darth Maul as a character. Throughout Phantom Menace, Clone Wars, and Rebels, we've pretty much seen his entire life story, and I think Rebels ended that story beautifully. So making a full show about him, even though it takes place before Rebels, just didn't feel entirely necessary. And the other thing that worried me about this show is Darth Maul is a villain, and while he's not necessarily a pure evil villain, he is not a redeemable villain. And sometimes when people make shows about villains, they feel the need to turn them into anti-heroes, and that just doesn't have a good track record. Boba Fett! I'm sorry, I was just coughing there. Now, we have Maul Shadow Lord, so did my fears come true? Did this show end up being disappointing? Heck no. Maul Shadow Lord didn't just exceed my expectations, it obliterated them. Not only is this a really good show, I would go as far as to say that this is the best animated Star Wars season that we have gotten since Clone Wars ended 6 years ago. Don't get me wrong, I love Bad Batch, but this show compared to Bad Batch, not even on the same level. Maul Shadow Lord is awesome. So, why does this show work as well as it does? Well, the first big reason would be they understand the character of Maul. If you were like me and you were worried that this show was going to try and water down Maul or make him redeemable, do not fear, this show doesn't try anything like that. Maul is evil in this show. He is a menace. The show gives him sympathetic qualities, but it never tries to tell you that what he's doing is morally justified. The first 4 episodes of the show center around Maul tracking down and brutally murdering all of the criminal syndicates that betrayed him after the Clone Wars ended, and it was awesome. Maul's characterization in this show is honestly perfect, and that is both due to the writing and to Sam Witwer. Honestly, I just do not think anyone will ever be able to voice Maul as good as Sam Witwer. Ever since this guy first started voicing Maul in Clone Wars, he has just had a uniquely menacing voice that has given Maul just so much character. It's really impressive. And like I said, even though this show doesn't try to redeem Maul, it still does give him sympathy sympathetic qualities. I think it's interesting throughout this show, Maul has two motivations. One of them is revenge for all of the criminal syndicates that betrayed him, but the other one is he wants an apprentice, which is perfectly in line with his character from Clone Wars and Rebels. Maul has always had this weird desire to not be lonely, so I think hinging a lot of the show on that point was a really, really good idea that paid off really well. And the character who Maul wants to make his apprentice in this show is Devin, one of this show's many supporting characters. She's a Jedi Padawan who survived Order 66, and I found Devin to be a pretty interesting character. I thought that she had a very fun personality, but she also had a lot of interesting elements to her character where she wants to be a Jedi like her master is telling her to be in this show, but she also kind of gets some of the things that Maul is saying, and over the course of the season, she slowly inches more and more towards his point of view. I also really liked Devin's Jedi Master, Daki. I thought that he was a very, very likable and cool character, and another character who I really, really liked in this show was Captain Lawson. This show is kind of structured like a crime show with Maul being the star, and this show kind of understands that when you're making a crime show, it's not enough to just have a villainous protagonist. You also have to have a good guy hunting down that protagonist. In Breaking Bad, you can't just have your Walter White, you also have to have your Hank Schrader. So in Maul Shadow Lord, Captain Lawson kind of takes on that role, and I really liked Captain Lawson. He was probably one of my favorite characters in this show, other than Maul. I thought that he was just such a likable guy, mainly because he's just straight up a normal dude in the Star Wars universe. He's not even Imperial. He hates the Empire. He's just a normal cop who's trying to keep his city safe, and there were times throughout this show where I really emphasized with him, and I actually kind of felt bad for him at certain points. I wanted him to stick around and watch his son play space lacrosse. That's what that sport was, right? Like, we can all agree on that. Like, he's holding a lacrosse stick. I just think it's funny that of all of the human sports, the one that made it to the Star Wars galaxy was lacrosse. Speaking of Lawson's son, I also liked him. I thought that he was a likable character. I really, really liked Two Boots, the droid who's played by Richard Ayoade. I thought that he was a pretty funny supporting character, and he also weirdly had a pretty good character arc where he starts supporting the Empire, but then he kind of realizes over time that the Empire is evil. I also liked Vario, the little crime boss guy who Maul works with. I thought he was kind of funny, and also he sounded kind of like Steve Buscemi, and I was genuinely mind blown when I found out that Steve Buscemi wasn't voicing him. I liked Rook Kast. She's a Mandalorian who was in Clone Wars briefly, who kind of serves as Maul's sidekick throughout this show, and I thought that she was just a nice character for Maul to bounce off of. And I also really, really liked the funny little spy bot droid droid. He was really, really funny, and he is also one of my favorite characters in this show. I don't know, that was just a very creative personality for a droid to have. So yeah, Maul Shadowlord has a great cast of characters. The other thing that really works about this show is just its basic story structure. The show starts out with this 4-episode arc all about Maul getting revenge on all of these crime syndicates and being hunted by Captain Lawson, and I thought that that entire plotline was really, really interesting and well written, but it was also a little bit slow, kind of by design. And then halfway through the show, minor spoilers, the Empire gets involved. They show up on this planet, and the rest of the show just escalated so far above what I thought it was going to be. It becomes this really, really tense, high-stakes fight for survival, where all of our main characters are trying to escape the Empire. And when I say tense, I mean tense. They made this task feel impossible. The Empire are a bunch of monsters in this show. They were kind of terrifying because of how well they are able to just run all of our main characters into the ground. And as the show goes on and characters like Lawson, Devin, Daki start teaming up with characters like Maul, it feels very, very natural because the Empire has genuinely given them no choice. It is a very believable, the enemy of my enemy is my friend situation, and I thought that it was all really, really compelling. This show is not afraid to kill off characters, and that's all I'm going to say about that for now, because I don't want to get into spoilers yet. Another thing that I really, really liked about Maul Shadowlord was its animation. To be totally honest, as much as I love the Clone Wars animation style, I have been getting a little bit tired of it. I don't know, we had like 2 unique looking Star Wars shows with Rebels and Resistance, and then ever since then, every other animated show has just gone with the Clone Wars style, and it's just gotten a little bit boring and samey. This show takes the Clone Wars style, and it actually does something new with it. I can't even really describe it, but it just looked a little bit more like 2D and painted. Like, it was really, really visually interesting, and it made the lightsaber fights in this show look really, really cool. These are undoubtedly the best animated lightsaber fights that we have ever gotten. Every single lightsaber fight in this show looked really, really pretty, and there are a lot of them. So yeah, in general, I really liked a lot of stuff about Maul Shadowlord. I did have a few problems. For one thing, even though I liked Devin as a character, I did think that her arc could have used a little bit more time. Like, I felt like as we got to the end of the show, I felt like there were a few elements with her character that were a little bit rushed. And then my other big problem with this show is I wish that they had fleshed out some of the characters who are in Maul's crew a little bit more. Really, the only ones you care about are Maul, Rook Cast, and Mario. Everybody else on his crew was kind of just there, like they weren't really characters, and by the time you got to the end of the show, they kill off a lot of members of Maul's crew, and I just kind of felt nothing. Like, I just didn't really care that much. and I felt like the show would have been enhanced a little bit if I did care. Yeah, those are really the only problems that I have. In general, Maul Shadow Lord is a really, really good show. With that being said, I'm still not done talking about it yet because I want to get into spoilers real quick. If you haven't seen Maul Shadow Lord, please go watch it. It is a 9 out of 10. Genuinely amazing first season. I'm super excited for season 2. Go watch it right now. Seriously, you do not want the finale of this show ruined for you. Alright, now that all of them are gone, I want to talk about Vader. Okay, so recently Star Wars, specifically Disney Star Wars, has been doing a lot of Vader cameos. Like, that's just been a thing throughout the past, 10 years of the franchise. Vader will just randomly show up at the end of a thing and just beat a bunch of people up and murder a bunch of people. And it has been getting a little bit derivative, but with that being said, I don't really care. I really like it every single time it happens. And to be fair, every single time it has happened, it has made perfect sense. Take the Jedi games, for example. Vader shows up at the end of both of those games, and in both of those games, it made sense. When there is a Jedi that survived Order 66, and he keeps continuously being able to beat Inquisitors, obviously Vader is going to want to get involved. And in this show, it's the same thing. Obviously, when Maul is on a planet with 2 Jedi and the 3 of them are continuously escaping the Empire and escaping Inquisitors, Vader's going to want to deal with that personally. And I thought everything about his appearance was awesome, and they made him so menacing. The fact that he doesn't even say a single word throughout his fight with Maul, Daki, and Devin, and yet he still comes across as so menacing, it's just so cool, man. The fact that as soon as he shows up, he goes for Maul's leg, like he clocked his weakness immediately. Like, seriously, dude, it was just such a good usage of Vader, and I absolutely loved it. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about that real quick, because I like Vader, and I like the fact that he showed up in this show. Since we're in the spoiler section, RIP to all of the people that we lost at the end of this season. I was kind of expecting Master Daki to die. I just thought that kind of fit the narrative of the show pretty well. But Lawson and Rook, I was not expecting, and Lawson's death in particular was pretty sad to me. Yeah, that's really all I had to say. Overall, Maul Shadow Lord is really good. Like I've already said, it's a 9 out of 10. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. Comment down below what were your thoughts on Maul Shadow Lord, and see ya, movie fans.